In the early 80s, amidst a wave of coming of age films, one movie promised an exotic adventure and youthful romance: Paradise, 1982. Starring a young Phoebe Cates and Willie Ames, it aimed to capture hearts, but instead faded into obscurity. Today, we delve into why this film vanished from the mainstream and what secrets lie behind its production. Paradise tells the story of two teenagers, Sarah and David, who escape into the desert to find freedom and love. Filmed primarily in Israel, the location provided a unique backdrop uncommon for American films at the time. The harsh desert environment posed challenges, but it also added authenticity to the narrative. Phoebe Cates, known for her modeling career, was cast at just 17 years old. The role required several nude scenes, leading to discomfort for both Cates and co-star Willie Ames. They protested the amount of nudity, but body doubles were used without their consent. Cates later expressed her disappointment and refused to promote the film, stating, "I didn't show up at their parties, didn't go to any screenings, didn't travel anywhere they asked me to." Interestingly, Cates also lent her voice to the film's theme song, Paradise, which became a hit in Italy, reaching #1 on the charts. This musical endeavor showcased her versatility and added a unique layer to the film's legacy. Upon release, Paradise faced harsh criticism. The Washington Post described it as 100 minutes of agonizing tedium, and Roger Ebert labeled it his dog of the week. The film's portrayal of certain characters also drew accusations of cultural insensitivity. Today, Paradise remains largely inaccessible, absent from major streaming services. Factors contributing to its disappearance include the controversies surrounding its production, rights issues, and changing societal norms. One of the biggest criticisms of Paradise was its sexual content involving young characters. The film was marketed as a romantic adventure, but it featured nudity and intimate scenes with actors portraying teenagers. While Phoebe Cates and Willie Ames were both legally adults, Cates was around 18 at the time of filming. They were playing very young, innocent characters, which made the film controversial then and even more problematic by today's standards. In today's climate, there's a much sharper sensitivity toward exploitation and the sexualization of youth in media. What might have passed in the early 80s as provocative or edgy is now seen by many as inappropriate or uncomfortable, especially in the wake of movements like #MeToo and increased awareness of how young actors are treated in Hollywood. This makes the film harder to defend, and streaming platforms often avoid hosting films that might generate backlash or appear to violate modern ethical standards, especially when it involves minors or perceived exploitation. Paradise was released not long after The Blue Lagoon, 1980, and critics slammed it as a cheap knockoff. Many saw it as a cash grab, trying to ride the success of a similar story. Two young lovers stranded in an exotic location, with danger, romance, and coming of age themes. Because it didn't receive much critical praise and was labeled as derivative and exploitative, it faded from memory pretty quickly after its release. Films with cult followings or critical acclaim often find second lives on streaming. Paradise never gained that kind of loyal fan base or cultural legacy. The film was distributed by Avco Embassy Pictures, a company that has since changed hands multiple times. Rights to their library have passed through various entities, including MGM and Studio Canal. As with many older or mid-tier films, it's likely that the streaming rights are in a legal gray area, especially if nobody sees value in untangling the contracts. Also, if music rights, like the theme song Paradise by Phoebe Cates, were licensed only for theatrical or VHS DVD use, that could complicate streaming rights even more. Clearing music rights for digital distribution is often more expensive than it's worth for older films that aren't likely to generate high traffic. In the early 1980s, films like Paradise were often considered romantic adventure or exotic escape fantasies. Today, many people view these storylines through a more critical lens, especially the gender roles, power dynamics, and the idea of innocent characters being placed in overly adult situations. What was once seen as daring or sensual is now often viewed as problematic. This cultural shift has led many distributors to quietly bury films that don't hold up to modern scrutiny. It's not that the film is banned per se, It's more that no one wants to touch it, and there's not enough public demand to push it back into the light. So, what do I think about Paradise? Honestly, it's one of those movies that's more interesting because of its history than the movie itself. The cinematography is beautiful, the soundtrack is memorable, and if you grew up in the 80s, there's definitely a sense of nostalgia here. That said, the story isn't groundbreaking. It leans heavily into the whole young lovers in danger theme, and it's definitely not for everyone. But that's also what makes it fascinating. It tried to capture a specific fantasy of the time, and in doing so, it became part of a strange little moment in movie history. Would I recommend it? Maybe as a time capsule. It's not a masterpiece, but it's worth knowing about, especially if you're into forgotten pop culture or Phoebe Cates' early work. What about you? Have you seen Paradise? Or do you remember any other forgotten films that deserve a second look? If this brought back memories or made you curious about a movie that time nearly erased, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more forgotten favorites.